Lord, why am I making so many dumb decisions? How is it I've walked into so many relationships that have turned out to be to my detriment?
What's up, truth seekers? You're listening to Damaged to Dangerous, where I bring my passion for pulling back the veil on a quote, pill for every pain, calling out what's broken in the medical industry, and exposing the lies about our food system. Let's walk into real healing to help those misdiagnosed, over medicated, and spiritually stuck get their lives back, body, mind, and spirit. Food is medicine. You're not broken. You've just been lied to. It's time to wake up, get free, and become dangerously whole. So let's go. Learning how to overcome what tried to take you out. And today I'm honored to have the privilege of sitting here chatting with Jim Banks. Pat and Jim have been a great resource for my life and friends in my life. And I'm grateful for that. For those that don't know you, would you be willing to introduce yourself? How'd you get started in this stuff? And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, it started it's almost 50 years ago. Um, Pat and I met and married in Houston, Texas, and I took a job in Indianapolis, Indiana, and being good Southern Baptist boys and girls, we found the farthest northern Southern Baptist church you can in Indianapolis. And since we were newly married, they gave us the young marrieds class, um, thinking that this would be really good for them without the knowledge that um, I had just come back to the Lord um, after about 3.5 years in alcohol. And so we took on this class and decided we're going to have a marriage weekend, a conference. And on the way to the conference, I asked Pat, I said, now, what do you do at a marriage conference? It's like, that was kind of how experienced we were, or at least I wasn't. And any rate, I think there were 12 or 13 couples, all very young, some of them in college, had just been married a little while. And we saw over a period of a few years, people fall. You pick them up, dust them off, put a Band-Aid on their butt, and kick them back out there. And then, in a month or 6 weeks, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
And so it came to us. It's like, Lord, we're supposed to be representatives of you here on the planet. And if you were here, things would be different with these couples. So there's obviously something we don't know, don't understand, or aren't in touch with that you're going to have to make up for. And it wasn't very long before we came to the realization there is such a deficit here. And it's going to take time to walk people through this. And so, Lord, we don't know what that process is. And we don't know what tools are available, if indeed there are any. But if you'll teach us how to heal broken hearts, we'll give our lives to it. Well, at the time we were thinking that probably a 3-day weekend training session, at a resort somewhere where I could get in a little golf or whatever, would be good to go.
Yeah.
And it turned out like that.
Oh,
So we started with that group, and then I took a job as a uh, sales and marketing manager for a company in Loveland, Colorado. And lo and behold, it turned out to be about 10 miles from um, a guy by the name of Darren Carmack, who had a program called Darren's Coffee Shop, where he did healing via words of knowledge over the radio.
Okay.
And so I got baptized in the Spirit listening to him over the radio in Indianapolis. And so before long, we were volunteering on his prayer teams and studying under him. Pat became his business manager. I became his road manager and left the heady world of industrial sales.
So, just a question: what is a word of knowledge for those who might not know?
Well, let me kind of recap how his telephone calls would go. It's um, somebody would get on the phone and they would say, "Oh, Darren, we love your show so much. I'm just dealing with a significant amount of pain in my back, and it comes and goes, but it's really more difficult and more stressful, seemingly the older I get." And da da da. And she said, "I would like for you to pray for me." Um, and he would ask her some question. Well, what's your relationship with your husband like? And they would, and then there'd be this pregnant pause of, uh, "Are you going to pray for me?"
Hey.
And he would say, only after you ask forgiveness of your husband for the argument you had last week, where you called him blah, 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 blah. And he's quoting what she said.
Yep.
And she would say, yes, indeed. And boom, she'd get healed miraculously over.
Right.
And
Right.
so that was kind of what his ministry was. And it was interesting to be with him and learn from him and watch how he did things. And um, we
But
wound.
were you always the saint?
No, it's interesting. Um,
Are you a saint?
interesting what trauma does to you.
Yeah.
Um, my dad was a great guy. He just was never around. He was a workaholic, and um, because of the business he was in, we moved a lot. And I'm saying um, 96 times by the time I graduated high school.
Wow.
So we lived in a trailer that moved because it was a contract kind of basis. I remember we stopped in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We knew we were only going to be there 2 weeks, and my mother wanted me to go to school, and it was like, no, I don't want to do this because I can't even find somebody to play with at recess, much less have anybody to talk to. Well, my mother, um, years later, I just came to the realization that the reason she wanted me to go to school was because I had a younger brother and a baby sister at home, and she was just trying to cut her workload. And she didn't have any more of a support system than I did. In fact, probably less because she wasn't hanging around with people her own age. And so it was that kind of a thing where um, survival, at least emotionally for an awful lot of people, causes you to turn inward, build walls to keep other stimulus out that you can't either quantify or determine how you're going to respond to appropriately. Um, and so as a consequence, you can be in an environment that is super spiritual within some amazing kind of people. but your ability to adapt to it, embrace it, or walk in it is limited by all of those decisions that you made to protect yourself. So during that period, the Lord was really trying to move me out of what I would call a transactional relationship with the Lord. In other words, you only go to him when you need something.
Yeah.
Into that place of the fullness of relationship with him. And I came to a place where um, I was really disappointed in the disciplines that I had, and I was hyper perfectionist anyway. And I said, Lord, I am so frustrated because the words of Bible are not jumping off the page like they used to. If I never read another journal of any kind, I'll be just fine. There's not enough answered prayer on this laundry list of stuff I'm praying to make it worthwhile. So I'm not doing that anymore. But I will sit here with pen in hand and I will ask you and I'll write it down. What do you got to say to me today? And so that's how I really learned to hear the voice of the Lord. But over the course of about a year, he did some interesting things. Um, he would say periodically, I love you. Well, when you're all shut down and all stove up, you know, where do you put that?
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the issue for so many people who have struggled with trauma. It's this place of I've never really been loved. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it feels like. I know what I would like for it to look like and feel like, but I've never experienced it. And I don't know anybody who has. I've read about it in books, but I don't know what that's like. But so here he is, he's saying, I love you. And scripture says from the mouth of Jesus, the words that I speak to you, they are spirit and their life. So every time he says this, which wasn't on a daily basis, it was periodically at certain times, it just started a little crack. And the next time it was a little more, a little more. And um, over the course of about a year, um, there was some breakthrough in it. Um, and it was then that all of the stuff that we had done, the prayer that so naive that we prayed, Lord, you'll teach us to heal broken hearts and give our lives to it, began to have an impact and change our desire. So one of the habits that we adopted was, um, I can't, I can't walk in the fullness of the relationship that the Lord has desired for me without some healing of my own. So we're
Right.
going to every year, or at least every 18 months, we're going to go and invest in that. Not at a training camp or anything. We're going to go for personal ministry if it takes a week.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, I don't know. I know for myself, I didn't recognize a lack of love as traumatic. I remember the first inner healing model that I watched. They were taking some people, Chester and Betsy Kilstra of Restoring Foundations, were taking through a guy through ministry, and it was a recording for training, and I was expecting somebody that had been beaten, raped, burned with cigarettes, starved,
Yeah.
exposed to the elements and that. I thought that was trauma. But this guy's trauma was my father never told me he loved me and he never hugged me. I'm going, why didn't they get somebody here with some real pain? That's what I was thinking. Didn't recognize that maybe that applied to a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Because it's your norm. It's like this is what I live with every day, so it's not a big deal.
Well, and I believed you've got food on the table, a roof over your head,
Yeah,
clothes on your back. Be grateful.
yeah, yeah. And
Of
then
course.
I'm functional, so it's not like I'm living under a bridge in a cardboard box or anything,
Right.
but it's still very, very painful. And
I didn't recognize that as trauma.
no, no. I think everybody experiences it in some way, shape, form, fashion. In fact, even in multiple occasions, and lack of love and tension or attention,
Encouragement.
instruction, nurturing, those things are extraordinarily important for us.
And especially as children, when your brain's developing, you've got to have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think uh, um, the father in a family has the primary responsibility of establishing the identity of his children.
Mm.
He does it by his presence on a continuing basis, but he also does it probably better in the context of not only being there, but being emotionally engaged and attached to them. So he's helping them process the ups and downs of life and so forth and so on. And without that, you're having to do it on your own.
Yes.
The problem that we're all facing, and I think this is one of those things I see virtually every day with people I work with, is Matthew 18:3 says, unless you turn, transform, change, whatever one of you is, and become as a little child, you'll not be able to enter the kingdom of God. Well, the reality for the vast majority of us is that at some point in time in childhood, we all came to the conclusion, this ain't working for me. Nobody's coming to show me the ropes. Nobody's instructing me. Nobody's coming to build a platform of success under me. I'm going to have to grow up and do it myself. And what do? I walk away from all of that original equipment that I was given. Because what is the greatest characteristic of a little child? They're fearless,
Mm.
absolutely fearless. But we as adults are anything but.
Right.
So you're walking away with from all kinds of things that the Lord put in each one of us. But the problem is what I do is I now have to figure everything out. I have to understand it. I've got to identify everything that can be a potential problem to me. I've got to create contingency plans in case the first one doesn't work out. I'm living life out of my head
Right.
rather than who I am. Well, when you make that choice, the first thing you give up is discernment, because discernment doesn't come from here. It
Right.
comes from here. And so it's like, Lord, why am I making so many dumb decisions? How is it I've walked into so many relationships that have turned out to be to my detriment? Just the whole thing. So it's this place of, for me personally, the time that I spent with the Lord, sitting down with him every day and asking him, what do you got to say to me today? It came to the realization that what you did for me, Lord, in that process was you refathered me.
Right.
You did for me what my own father could not or would not do by just sitting there with you, asking questions, and having you give me wisdom and understanding, and occasionally kicking the pants when when I sorts with somebody that worked for me. It was,
So,
hey, dude,
yeah.
you got an attitude problem here. You got
You know, well, I remember being in a sozo section, and I was asked, well, you've brought up all these conflicts you've had with your mother. What about your father? And I'm like, what? He's a good dad.
stuff.
Well, what did the 5-year-old think every time he walked out the door and didn't come home until you're already in bed? He lived in the house, but I never saw him. And I'm like, well, he was doing the right thing. And they're like, well, yeah, that's what an adult thinks. He was going to work, supporting his family.
Yeah.
But what did the 5-year-old think? And I said, oh, come on. And they said, work with us, please. Which, why don't we just forgive your father for going to work? And I'm like, oh, that's so ridiculous. So I said, I forgive my father for going to work and leaving me alone and not showing up, not being there when I needed him. And from a 5-year-old perspective, I lost it, you know, and
Yeah.
but that's the truth. Yes, as I think we dismiss it, we minimize it, is what I'm trying to say. He was doing the right thing. He was going to work, but there was that lack of love, lack of nurture, not because he was cruel, mean, and abusive, but because he's trying to put food on the table, truthfully. And
I think that's one of the things that is hard for people to understand is we're taught uh, from religion that you have to forgive, but they don't tell you how. So you're standing there saying, "Well, I forgive my father for something." I just
going to work,
wait. Can you forgive him for the way he made you feel because of what he did or did not do?
right,
You know?
and feel as a child,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
But even in the context of being an adult, we somebody offends us, and so it's like, I will forgive you for offending me. No,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I forgive you for making me feel like I didn't count. I was nobody. I was
Mhm.
nothing, not only to you, but to anybody on the planet.
Right,
You know,
right,
it's it's that kind of perception that we finally have to grab a hold of is, Lord, we are blessed to have emotions. But at the same time, I have to pay attention to them, not what they tell me.
right,
I don't have to live
right.
with it. But because that's typically what happens when somebody is traumatized is they shut that portion of themselves down. Because I don't know how to manage my emotions, and the only thing I feel is anger.
Right.
I don't allow myself to feel.
Which I've recognized in myself is one of the main fruits of fear. And I'm afraid I'm going to lose control or not, something. I'm going to be taken. What if my response is anger? Well, maybe I shouldn't call it a response. I'm reacting something from my past that hasn't been healed.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a difference between a response and a reaction.
Yeah. We were in a church in Asheville that just blew up, and uh, three or four of the men in who were part of that church just just wrecked their lives. And so I said, Lord, what is this? And he said, it's the trauma of what could have been, where your hopes, dreams, aspirations, how you saw yourself and the connections that you have with that group bring life to you. And suddenly it's killed. Yeah.
Death of a dream.
Yeah. And so, it could be death of a marriage or what have you, but it's still as destructive as anything else. Because two of those guys, it wrecked their faith. They're still not whole. And that
Right.
was 20 years.
Right. I get it. Actually, when I was in the treatment center a millennium ago, on Thursday nights, I still remember, we would have a grief class and write out whatever the dream was that we lost or the person that we never processed. We never allowed ourselves to feel the broken marriage, the dad left, whatever the problem was. And I talk about healing. It was crying, it was tears and
Yeah.
brokenness coming out. But I tell you, on the other side of that, there was hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really have to know why I do everything I do, even why I don't do the thing.
Right, right, right.
Because part of what happens in trauma is we become risk averse. So if there's any perceived possibility, however remote, that this is not going to work out to my benefit, it's like, no.
Right.
And
So I'm recognizing that even in writing, I'm easily distracted. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I think it's a cortisol response. I don't feel safe. Well, there's no threat here. There's no threat. But
no, I think part of it is deeper than that. It's um I remember um I think it was like fourth grade or fifth grade. There was some concept and I don't even remember what subject it was in, but it was just like I can't get this. I don't understand it. It just teacher didn't couldn't articulate it in a way that made sense to me. But my reaction was, I'm stupid. I can't learn this.
mm, yeah,
And when teacher would ask you a question, it's like you made it. I'm fumbling around here, and it's like, no, I can't do this. So when you sit down to write, that thing comes back again and says, you're incapable.
right.
Is that true? No, it's not. But my truth trumps everything else. So I act in accord with what I've always believed true or not.
Well, and shame will do that,
Yeah.
right? Procrastination. What? No, I'll do it tomorrow.
No.
But I think I'm just recognizing old, even what was normal to me. You're always on high alert,
Yeah.
or I was for most of my life because I was in situations that I may have put myself in
Right.
that
Right.
kept me there. But maybe I like that because it was familiar to me. But the high alert things, there's no bear in the room anymore. Just
No, but
cellular memory.
we're still looking for her,
Yeah, yeah, because you
and
might pop in.
can invent them.
Well, and I heard somebody once say, I used to live in fear all the time. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. And to get to the point where today I know goodness and mercy follows me.
Yeah.
It's just,
And those aren't the name of the bear's house shoes he's wearing.
yeah, right. Just, uh,
Yeah.
so, yeah, your trauma prayer that's online, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes. Um, it for me, it brought awareness. Like I said when we were chatting before this, that I didn't recognize dental procedures or surgery. One of my friends is a surgical nurse, right? Works in the ER a lot, and she does orthopedic. It's usually gunshot wounds, car crashes, major falls. It's trauma situations. Um, and one day she was in the kitchen cutting up some chicken, and she cut her finger a little bit, and she goes, "Oh, that's nothing," and then she goes, "I'm going to pass out." The, her body disagreed with her mind. And she had to get down on the floor and put her head between her knees because we are body, soul, and spirit. And what's up here means nothing to the physiological situation that was taking over.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of really good books to read about that. One of them is The Body Bears
But
Burden.
okay,
Um,
the body bears the burden.
yeah. And that book is probably 60 years old.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yet when you read it, it's like, huh,
Body keeps score,
how come nobody knows about this? And
right?
the body keeps the score. It is that reality that every significant trauma, even the insignificant ones that you've experienced, there's a memory of it stored in your body somewhere, somehow.
Right, right.
And that to me, I think was really significant. The trauma prayer came about, um, I think it was in 2008. Um, but I had uh, 7 or 8 young ladies, all single, all under 30, come to me with horrific dreams, sleep deprivation. Um, Commonality was most of them, and I think they're talking 90% of them, could see in the spirit as kids. They shut it down. But here they were, um, in their mid to late 20s, and it's on again and they can't turn it off. And everything they see is demonic. All of the dreams are sexually violent. And, it's like, I don't want to go to sleep. So I'll
Right.
stay up as long as I can and then go to bed. Happens anyway. They wake up, hey, go back to sleep. After about a month to 6 weeks, they can't put one foot in front of the other. Uh, so they came to me to try to figure out what do I do? Well, I prayed everything I knew to pray, followed the Holy Spirit as far as I knew how to do, and we just kind of put a dent in it. And so I decided to fast a little bit and pursue the Lord about, hey, something's got to change. And He showed me 3 things that I had never put together, gave me another piece, and that basically became the trauma prayer. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, some education also was added to it so that it covers pretty much every single symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Um, my thought initially was, okay, this is great. It kills dreams, the tormenting ones, but is it permanent?
Right.
Okay, how long do you have to go to see to it that it's permanent? It's like, well, I just want to know if we can get past a week or 10 days. But it turns out to be pretty permanent. Uh,
Okay.
and that in itself is huge for so many people because um, if you look at uh, VA Veterans Administration's statistics, Um, 72% of those individuals who have been clinically diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder become addicts on some level. Um, that's difficult to eat up because most of the folks are shamed that I have to go someplace to get mental health recommendations or even ministry. And most of what happens today is a travesty because you just get medicated into oblivion and uh, you're not you're not processing anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the medications take I was on them for 18 years. They don't do a thing. Except
No.
for side effects like suicide.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, if this prayer impacts anything beyond that, I'm blessed to be part of it.
Yeah.
The cool thing is to be able to even take authority over my own body and cause it to release the results of tension, anxiety, fear, whatever that I've hung on to because of trauma does two things for me. Number one, First Peter says, "Cast all your cares on Him because He cares for you." Um, those two words of care are totally different. One is my worries, my fear. The other is like hospital. So
Mm.
it's like um, I can actually get well by releasing this stuff to the Lord. Yes, because you were never created to carry it in the first place. He died
Right.
for it on the cross. So you're illegally holding on to it anyway. So you need to give it up. But the reality of it is, um, we could probably stop so much um, debilitating disease,
Right.
probably including cancer, by doing just that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I, I've learned that all pain will come out, and you either process it with the Lord or it comes out sideways, and that's what happened with addiction. And you know,
yeah. So it's a place where, Lord, thank you that freedom was your idea and that you
right.
created everything that was necessary to allow it. And the only thing we have to do is just submit ourselves to it. It's like,
Right.
how much more selfish can I get?
Well,
I ought to.
you know, uh,
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, let me help me begin to see these things as they truly are. Um, ministered to well, I was a friend before I ministered to him, to a lawyer in Tampa. And he said, it took me 8 months to figure out my whole life as a child was trauma. I never realized it, never understood it. I just thought this is what everybody does. This is whatever happens to everybody.
yeah,
No, uh,
normal. We're a normal family.
yeah. And of course, his wife had been on his case like that for years. It was like, um, it's just, Lord, I don't see like you see. So I'm asking you to show me what I need to see. Grant me a grace to do something about
Right, right. I have found myself, well, today, now that I know a little bit more than I used to when I was just ricocheting off walls and self-destructing and taking anybody I could with me. Today, I find myself saying, this reminds me of when. And I know today, that it's just something from my past. If I'm having an overreaction and it reminds me of something, and I'm like, what's this coming from? I've heard it, the analogy, it's like sunburned skin. You know, I can come up behind you and slap you on the back, say, hey, how are you doing? But if your skin is sunburned and I come up and slap you on the back, there will be a different reaction when you turn around.
Oh, yeah.
But that pain was already there. Obviously, I didn't cause it.
Right.
Um,
You just
and so,
activate.
oh, yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
reminded you of it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but God.
Yeah. Well, that's been the blessing of it. Um, what really follows for so many people who have been victims of trauma of all sorts is that um, we've tried to self-protect by becoming something that was less vulnerable, more lovable, more fun, more intelligent, whatever it turns out to be. That really wasn't us. And so um, I find so many people don't really know who they are, um, nor are they very self-aware.
Right.
Um, so I've created this workbook called Who Am I? That it just asks you a million questions that you need to answer in order to become familiar with who you are.
Yeah.
One of the things that was interesting about it to me was I had gone to a workshop and walked away with this question: can I describe who I am in great detail? So I went home, pulled out and started set it at about 20 minutes of brew, but this is a serious waste of time because all I'm doing is describing who I am as a function of what I do.
Oh,
And Lord said, you're barking up the wrong tree here, dude. So, okay, you're going to have to help me out because I don't know what way to go. And he said, well, did I not say in the book of Genesis that I created you in my image and after my likeness? Yes, you did. Did not my son Jesus say in John chapter 4 or 14, if you see me,
in Father.
yeah, yes, he did. So you ought to be able to look into the life of my son in the New Testament and identify characteristics in him that are also in you. Some of them may not be developed well, but others will be more so. And he said, so when you begin to define yourself by the characteristics that I created you in my image with, you'll have a new appreciation, not only for who you are, but what you can become if you will allow yourself to do that. And that one single thing I think is helpful to help us refocus out of the performance stuff that we've done because our whole system of this society is focused on performance
Right.
rather than the reality of who you were created to be and what that looks like. Not from the standpoint of what does it produce.
Right. We're human beings, not human doings.
Yeah, yeah. Um so that the reality of me when I look at another person and I encounter them, I'm more cognizant of who they are because of the focus that I've been encouraged to have on myself.
Right.
So that looks don't really enter the picture. It's more the ability to recognize each other by the spirit so that I know who's a friend and who's a foe, which is something everybody not only needs to know now, but I think going to be even more important.
Right. I agree. I agree. Well, you've written 17 books. So no, you've written way more than that. Where are you now?
I have 28 in print.
28. Well, they're a valuable resource. I have probably 8 or 10 of them. Um, Valuable resource, not only insightful when you're reading to learn about yourself, but then to be able to bring healing to the one in front of you. So then we'll put some links out there on the show notes.
You can catch us on our website at jimandpatbanks.com. You can get a number of stuff there. I put out a blog um, once or twice a month, um, which not only have I enjoyed it, but one of the things the Lord asked me to do, somebody needs to hear this. We moved from Asheville, North Carolina to little town, Campbellsville, Kentucky. And we ran into a group of people who practice a thing called declaration dinner.
Mm.
And what the process was is in December, you sit down and you write down the things you want to achieve before midnight, December 31st of next year. And you take that before the Lord in the balance of December and say, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to increase it, decrease it, throw this away, add something else in? And then in January, we would get together with 10 or 12 friends and we would have a catered meal since nobody wanted to get up and start doing dishes in the middle of this thing. And at the end of the meal, each person would stand in turn and declare what it was they were going to achieve in the coming year. Now, the cool thing about this is it's scriptural. Jesus says, where two or more are gathered in my name, there you can ask or declare what you want, and it'll be done. Old Testament says a thing is confirmed in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay. So what you're doing is I'm taking things of the spirit that's given to me because scripture says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. So my challenge is to figure out which ones are I created and which ones he put in there.
Right.
But we've done this, I think, since 2011, I think. And first year, there were 11 items on the list. 9 were completed. The other 2 were much larger things, and they took about another 5 or 6 months to accomplish. But that's the way it's been every year since 2011.
Well,
Okay.
that sounds like a good plan.
Well, one of the things that it does is for trauma victims, I'm so focused on crap from the past,
Right.
how it's impacting me now, keeping me from achieving the things I need to achieve, that I have to have something that focuses me on the future. And this is what this does because it causes you to begin to take an inventory of what is really important to me. What will I plan for? What will I sacrifice for? What will I will save for? What I'll pray about? What I will educate myself on if necessary. So that it gives me a focus for something that's positive as
Right.
being continually impacted by the past and the negativity of it. The other thing that it does when you're in a group doing something like this is it's a call for accountability.
Right. Yes.
I
That,
want you to come poke me in the ribs in 6 months and say, okay, how
where are you?
Yeah, what's going on? What do we need to pray for? What do we need to do something about? Or hey, here's Bob's phone number. It'll help you with number 4 on your list to get that checked off. Um,
Correct.
whatever it turns out to be. But it's that place of, Lord, you never intended for us to live in the past.
Right.
You intended for us to honor the things that we need to honor, but basically focus on where we're going. Um,
I've learned that 15% of people make their goals unless they've got accountability people in their lives. Then it's more like 85%.
yeah,
So, for example, I go to a writers group, you know.
yes, yeah, it's brilliant
Yeah. If
because number one, I need somebody with similar interests who's struggling with the same stuff I am, but they're learning even as I'm learning.
right.
And so we can lean on each other in this process. You know, I, one of the things that happens to you as a writer is that you grow in your gifting. I went back after about 7 years and started reading the books 2 or 3 books I wrote. And I was so embarrassed. It was like,
Or yeah.
God,
Oh
this is
no.
awful.
Oh no.
I re-edited each one of them, but it's that place of you learn how to write and you learn how to demonstrate who you are, your voice, your thoughts in a way that you're happy with.
Right.
And it takes time to do that. And the only way to do it is just get in there and do it.
Get her done.
Listen to other people and process. One guy told me, he said, what helped me a lot was I write a book and then I sit on it for at least 90 days before I publish it.
Really.
Yeah. I said, why? And he said, because invariably I will see things differently in that 90 days that causes me to go back and make some changes that within 6 months I'd be kicking myself in the pants because it didn't make, because I
Right.
don't see it.
Well,
Well, this was just like that when I was talking before we started recording, was this book on um, The Enemy Within, which was on fear.
mm,
I was about done with it and I came to realize I've never checked in with the Lord. Lord,
mm,
would you talk to me about fear? And he says, well, I'd really rather talk to you about courage because I didn't create you with fear. You learned it so you can unlearn it. And it was like, that's the simple process that people need to see and embrace that I really never got to. Because everything that the Lord wants us to do brings life. And if I don't see it that way, I get hung up. One of the biggest issues I think for so many of us is I cannot discern the difference between discipline and punishment.
okay.
Okay? Lord says, I discipline those whom I love. It doesn't mean I'm punishing you. I'm just putting pressure on you so you will change so that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Punishment is for something you've done wrong. But if I see everything and interpret everything as punishment, I will never see love,
Oh, that's good.
never
Yeah.
embrace life because of it. I'll get rebellious and hard hearted. But
Mm,
so
you bet.
it's
Yeah.
that place of, Lord, when Jesus said, I'm come that you might have life and life abundant, help me judge everything through that lens. If it
Right.
doesn't bring life in some way, shape, form, or fashion, help me see it. Grant me a grace to do something about it so that I can walk in that place of life.
And well,
And I
speaking of writing,
appreciate the fact that you said, I'm going to a writer's group. Okay. What that says about you is you value the input of other people,
oh yeah,
but you also value their company just simply because these are people who are interested in the same thing I'm interested in, but we have like hearts and like values. And so I can share life with you.
right,
And
right.
that's huge
And
because,
it's also a safe place.
yes,
You know, I somebody can read something and they're not it's safe. I mean, if I have if somebody has criticism about something I've said, I know it's a constructive one.
right, right.
And and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh wow, that makes it much better. And I don't always hear my own voice when I'm writing. When somebody else hears it, I might criticize it, but I got like a standing ovation for one thing I wrote that I thought was. They're like, oh, that's great. That should be your book trailer, and it became my book trailer. I was afraid to read it. Yeah, not good enough, right?
Yeah, yeah. Enemy's
But
after us all the time.
pardon me.
Say the enemy is after us all the time.
You're right. So and speaking of healing and trauma, there was an exercise that um I I learned a long time ago that makes sense to me now. I was asked to write down three major traumas in my life. And at the time I was so broken and angry. I wrote them all out and then you were supposed to share those traumas with another person. So I was waiting for the other person to show up. I had my paper front, back, all the things that had happened to me. And as I'm waiting for her, I'm rereading it. And I'm going, well, that part didn't quite happen that way. By the time she got there, I found a thread of truth. And it had grown in my head. And I was reading a Dr. Carolyn Leaf book, and she says there would be proteins that go encapsulate the traumatic memory. I might be butchering this, and it distorts the memory. But writing, there's power in writing. There's power in saying, things that we haven't grieved that are traumatic, saying goodbye, writing goodbye letter to grandpa, or, you know, when you did this, it made me feel. And
Right.
writing it out, there's power in it. Now I didn't send it, but it was just another depth of healing from writing out things.
That's one of the things that the Lord told me to do when I was putting one of these um, declarations for these um, declaration dinners. He said, I want you to write a book every year. Why?
Yeah. What?
And he said, you need a discipline that will cause you not only to study my word, but to look internally at how to apply it. And it was like, that makes sense. I need a discipline so that I'm in the word over a specific topic. And that was like 6 years ago, I think. And it's been extraordinarily beneficial.
It is. It is. It's powerful.
It really is. And you may have to rewrite the whole thing. This is one of those deals where these two books that I'm working on. you get a point where it's like, is this chapter really germane? The
Right?
whole thing it's focused on. And so why did you think it was? Why is it still in there? What importance is it to you? And uh, as a consequence, would it be important to somebody else to have that? Um, One of the things that's hard for for us all to do, um, and Michael Miller, who was at the most recent conference on Thursday night, said this. He said, um, "I'm up here. I'm only going to be here once. So the temptation is to unload on you everything I know."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, I have a lot of things I need to say that are I think of that could be of significant value to you. But is that the point why I'm here? No. No. How do then I discipline myself to stay on track with what the Spirit wants to accomplish with this little book, knowing that probably if you could distill it down to something around 60 pages, people would read
Right.
it. Improve the chances of them reading. Um, but you
Yeah. My favorite books are, I mean, I even have books from Watchman Nee that are about this big and would probably be about three pages long, maybe not. But I appreciate that because I don't think we talk about this in the church enough, the spirit of understanding. There is now I have understanding
yeah.
on some things. And, I used to, run there's in Proverbs and Passion, there's some people that ruin their whole lives and blame it on God. Well, poster child. But
Yeah.
now I'm grateful for some understanding of how I was just opening the door for the enemy and turning on God, which is, the nature of the accuser anyway, right? Um, Causing my own problems.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for some
Yes.
understanding. I'm looking for more, and I'm grateful for your books. They gave me understanding. What does fear look like? What does trauma look like? You know, thank you for the work you do.
Well, it's been interesting, and I know the longer you're in any field, the more complex problems you run into, which keeps you on your toes, number one. You know,
Yeah,
there's nothing like getting up in the morning knowing you have 4 or 5 people to work with, and you have to say, Lord, I have no idea what these people
yeah.
need or how to deliver it to them.
Right, right,
You do. I have to surrender everything to you, and you use what you want to use. And if it's not me connecting with somebody that needs,
right. I heard someone once say, the larger my island of understanding gets, the larger the shores of ignorance grow. You know?
that's perfect.
Yeah,
That's
but
absolutely perfect. You just don't know what you don't.
exactly. I've thought about writing a book with that title.
Yeah,
You don't know what you don't know.
yeah.
But anyway, well, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. And I appreciate the work you and Pat do. It's been life changing for me. So
Well, we're
I
having
hope
fun.
what.
Having fun doing it. So
Well, I bless you. Thank you. I'm glad you're having fun doing it because God's not through with you yet. So, so they can reach you at your website.
it is jimandpatbanks.com. Um, you can download the trauma prayer from there for free. It's 23-minute little audio thing. Um, there's I can't remember. We're working on the website, but we have been blessed by folks who really saw the importance of that particular prayer
Right.
and have had individuals who speak the language
Yeah.
actually redo it. So it is now in Hebrew, it is in
Oh, wow.
Arabic, it is in um, French, German, Italian, Ukrainian.
Portuguese?
I we've got some people still working on that right now.
Okay.
The other languages, and those are available on YouTube. So
Beautiful.
um, I bless the people who are doing it. Um, one of the things about that trauma prayer is people have asked me, "Would you do another one?" And I was like, "Yeah, but the anointing that is on that one,
Right.
I can't replicate.
Right.
I can't do it.
Right.
I had nothing to do with that, and it's just that's what the Lord wanted done, and that's how it's been able to touch. Um,
Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for
I,
posting it.
I'm not touching it,
Right.
but
Why mess with it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah. But the cool thing is that that level of anointing is on each one of those. That's now in a different language,
Amen.
which is like so cool. Only you.
Right. Right. Oh, well, thank you again. I appreciate it. I love you. I bless you. Thank you.
Here,
I'd love to do it again another time.
let's do it.
All right.
I'm up for it.
All right.
Amen.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again next episode. Have a blessed day. That's a wrap for today on Damage to Dangerous. If this shook something loose, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rate it, review it. That's how we crack the system and spread real healing. Want to stay in the fight? Follow me on social media at Lynn Eldridge Official. And if you believe in what we're doing and want to support us, just grab the link below or send this episode to someone who needs the truth. Remember, don't just heal, heal loudly, heal boldly, be dangerous.